Okay, this is kind of a continuation of the Friends series, which I find is a consistent theme. And I could probably write a book on how I perceive friendship, but, okay. Yeah. This one's really hard to say, because I think that I'm kind of, this is another damned if I do and damned if I don't situation, but I'm gonna have to say it. If you don't love yourself, and this goes for friendship and relationships, if you don't love yourself, you don't love me. Period. If you don't love yourself, you don't love me. If I look at you and the way you treat yourself, and it's obvious to me that you don't love yourself because of the way you treat yourself, and then you try to tell yourself, or try to convince me that you love me, or that you care deeply for me, I don't think you do. I think that I, in some way, am an escape from you. And I don't want to be that. I want you to love yourself, because if you love yourself and you love me, that is the ultimate kindness right there. There are a lot of ways that you don't love yourself that I can't tell you that you don't love yourself in, because I'm afraid you'll be deeply offended, or it might not be my place to say it. You know, and I'm sure that I've been in this situation with others many times as well. And, you know, if that's the case, then, you know, I do forgive that person, you know, if I didn't understand at the time. But yeah, you know, I mean, you know, you have to love yourself. Don't be narcissistic. That's the opposite side of the coin, you know. Don't be so self-absorbed that I'm nothing to you and I'm here for your entertainment, because that, I don't think there's anything else in the world that could offend me more than that. You know, I mean, that's kind of one of the biggest problems I think we have as a species, is that mindset. That mindset that other people are here for your enjoyment, and that their needs mean nothing to you. And that if you're strong, you can bend them. If you're strong at something that they're weak at, you can bend them to make them do what you want. And if they bend, you won somehow. I've experienced that a number of times, and it is, I never want to do that. You know, I mean, is that in me? Of course it is. I think it's in all of us. I mean, you know, negative behaviors are within us. I won't deny they exist, but I don't want that, you know, and if it's ever exposed to me, I do change, you know, I do look at these things and say, you know, man, you know, that thing I said in the video, I really don't believe now, or I was wrong, you know, and yeah, you know, if you look at that, something I say in a vid, and you're like, man, he's really wrong there. Chances are I've looked at that same vid and I've thought the same thing. You know, rarely do I ever look at a vid and act like, you know, I said that. Usually I'm like, oh man, I could have found a more subtle approach, you know. I mean, I never really sit on a pedestal on some high horse and, you know, declare any form of victory. It really is kind of a, well, I would have regretted if I didn't say it, so I'm glad I did, you know. But, yeah, that's kind of a tangent for this topic, I think. But yeah, you know, so, I mean, if you don't love yourself, you don't love me. So, you know, don't get mad at me if I don't want to be around you. If I don't want to be around you, it probably is because you don't love yourself. In my opinion, you know, like, I don't consider myself one of the most attractive people alive, but I do find myself fairly attractive. And why do I find myself fairly attractive? Because I've worked to a certain extent to become fairly attractive. So to a certain extent, I do feel that, you know, I can say to a certain extent that I'm fairly attractive. If you're not attractive to me, usually it is because I can see to a certain extent that you're not trying. Usually, if you are trying your very best to be attractive, you can have a scar on your face, you know, something like that, and that's not going to bother me because I can see that you're trying. I mean, you know, me, I got hit by a car and all of this was damaged out. So, I mean, who am I to judge to a certain extent, you know? If you lost a limb and you were doing your best to be attractive, and I can see that, and you are, I mean, because it's not just trying, I mean, you're doing it, you know, both inside and out, then your energy, I believe that your positive energy, at least for me, somebody who's suffered damage myself, you know, I could look past that. Like I remember watching The Horse Whisperer with the girl that lost the leg, and I ached for her. I mean, I completely identified with the boy who liked her despite her losing the leg. It's like, you know, I just felt for her, and it didn't matter that she had the stump. What mattered to me was, you know, like, you know, I mean, she is doing the best she can, and it shows, you know, even though she was kind of a downer in the film, but, you know, yeah, you know, I'm just saying, like, you know, it's just the way I am. You know, I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to give you an instruction manual or something like that, that if you follow it, you'll be great. You know, you'll you know, and I don't value myself to that extent either, so, yeah. I'll just leave it at this very awkward place, because I really have nothing more to say. That's really all I got.